there's maybe 5 or 10 people that might actually know that this is going on as I'm doing it. I don't know that there's that many people that have notifications on for this channel, but on the off chance that anybody's listening to this right now, and I don't even know if I'm going to keep it afterwards. I'm just so bored today. I am so bored. I've been going through this for quite a while now of just this, it's almost like this complete creative malaise. I've talked about this before on my main channel. I did a stream on this, several months ago or something. It was something like the writer's block stream or something. But it's not just that. I've been thinking about a lot of different things, and it's one of those instances where you just don't, I don't know, you don't have an outlet. It's like a steam kettle. Eventually something's got to release. There's got to be some kind of release valve. So I just thought I'd ramble for a bit. Might mean something to somebody, might not. I don't know. I was thinking today about the what makes someone special these days. And I can't go anywhere else with that thought but to think it has to do with social media. How does someone become special? I used to call this I still call it the Punky Brewster effect. For those of you old enough or who can use Google, there was this show called Punky Brewster. It was this sitcom, this creative, energetic, sparkly little girl ended up being adopted or coming into the life of a very dour and sort of mundane old man. And she wore patchwork clothing and different shoelaces and had hair barrettes all over the place. And, she was just kind of different, special, out there as compared to the rest of the drab world. And so she was special, right? She was special. And she was special, at least in the context of the show, in a very small little sphere. The people that she met, the kids that she knew, and especially her adopted dad. And in that small little goldfish bowl, it was easy to be special because you just had to be a little bit different than everybody else. And you could be unique and you could be noticeable. How do you do that these days? How does anybody do that these days? How does anybody become special amongst the glut of specialness? And that got me thinking about how does someone become famous these days or well-known? Right? In the olden days, you could be well-known within your neighborhood, let's say, or even your town. It was a rare thing if you were known statewide, if you were some kind of pillar of the community or some kind of politician. It was even more rare if you were known outside your region, super rare if you were known nationally, and ridiculously rare if you were known worldwide. Like some random person walking around in Japan knows your name because you're an American and you did something amazing. That was super rare. And how did people become world famous unless they were doing something ridiculously good or ridiculously bad? Well, you had to be on TV in some fashion, or maybe the movies. But as far as TV is concerned, that was the most consistent place you could become well known. And if somebody wanted to know what was going on in the world, they had about 3 or 4 options for television stations. And so the audience had to come to the stations to find out what was going on. And the stations would tell them who's special, who's famous, who's noteworthy. Well, now everybody, at least in the modernized world, who has an internet connection can have as much, if not more, broadcasting power than any of those networks could have ever hoped for, right? Because right now, just me making this recording, whether I keep it up or not, conceivably, anyone in the world, everyone in the world who has an internet connection can access this, can listen to me right now. I could be world famous if everybody in the world just clicked on the link, right? But I probably won't be, because unlike the networks who were the only spot to stop to get information, I am one of millions doing this right now, right? either live streaming or posting a video or posting an Instagram or posting a Twitter or whatever. The likelihood that this will make me special in the way that some people wish they would be special is pretty slim. At the same time, I don't feel that lacking in me. Now, what do I mean by that? I was thinking about, well, like I said, I've been thinking about a lot of things. I was thinking about this the other day. When I started my main channel, I was thinking it would be amazing if I got 500 subscribers. I thought that'd be amazing, given, how niche topics I would be talking about, given how inexperienced I was, given how I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And if you think about it for a second, is there even 500 people in your real life that you have a connection with, a meaningful connection with? Or I should say, is there 500 people you can think of, if you have that many in your head, who on a regular basis want to hear what you have to say? I mean, if, let's say 20 people, I think it's probably possible that in my life, at any one particular moment, there may have been at least, not more than, but at least 20 people who I could name off who I had enough of a connection with, whether it be family or friends, who wouldn't mind hearing what I had to say about something. That's not the case now. The number of people that I have as real world friends is pretty slim, but I think I can safely say at the peak of my social, activity, 20 people is probably a fair thing to say. And that's not counting, mild acquaintances and things like that. And if these 20 people once a week in various ways came to say hi and talk to me for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you'd think that I'd have a pretty active social life. That seemed pretty impressive. Maybe. But now multiply that by, into 3,000 or 3,600 or whatever I have right now as subscribers on my main channel. Now, I don't imagine that 3,000 people on a regular basis are listening to my videos, but when I look at the counts, there's at least 300, 400, 500 people, conceivably, who are at various times deciding to listen to what I have to say. And that boggles my mind. I mean, I'm not one of those people that really cares about the numbers so much as I'm fascinated by them. I mean, just 500 people. Let's go back to my original sort of goal with the channel. 500 people. Can you imagine 500 people on just for 5 minutes out of their day being interested in hearing what you had to say? And yet people get all bent out of shape over, oh, I've only got, 5,000 subscribers or 10,000. My channel's not successful. I don't even understand what that means. The fact that I've got anybody wanting to listen to what I have to say on a regular basis still just humbles the hell out of me. But it feels even more significant than that. Because think about it. Your family members, the people, or at least the family members that care about you and you care about them, because, family members can be dysfunctional. Family members, generally speaking, probably like having you around, right? They like being near you. They like talking to you. They like catching up with you, that kind of thing. And save for that connection, that emotional connection, I'm pretty sure that if you met your own family member on the street, just let's say in an alternate universe where they had absolutely no connection to you as a family member, like nothing else about them was different. They had the exact same temperament, the same ideas, the same attitudes. You just didn't know them as a family member and they didn't know you as a family member. It'd be a crapshoot as to whether or not you could or would have that same connection, absent a familial one, with that person. Because I'll bet you dollars to donuts, there's a million people out there right now who are exactly like your mom or who are exactly like your dad, at least in attitude, temperament, etc. Not the exact same person, but in general terms. But they're not a family member. They're just another person on the street. And the likelihood that you'd have that connection with that person is, like I say, a crapshoot. So it actually means more to me, if it makes any sense, that there are, or at least at one time, were some 3,600 people who, at least for a minute, decided that they wanted to hear what I had to say a second time, at least by hitting that little subscribe button. At some point in the future, maybe they'd like to hear what I had to say again. They don't know me. There's no emotional connection. They're not a family member. They're not indebted to having to spend time with me because, it's a family thing or they feel obligated. But just on the basis of, I'm interested in what that person has to say. So maybe I'll listen to them again sometime. That's it. I mean, and that's not to discount family members, but that just means more to me, because I don't have much of an ego, or at least I don't give myself much credit. I have a hard time doing that. I've always been afraid of going over the line with self-confidence and drifting into arrogance. That's always been one of my sort of psychological fears. Part of the reason why I give myself so little credit. I'm trying to avoid the possibility that I might overdo it on self-confidence, so I barely allow myself any, I suppose. I think it has a lot to do with the kids that picked on me when I was a kid. When I was a kid, the kids who picked on me when I was a kid. Because I looked up to them because I thought they were confident. But a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were just arrogant, right? They were self-involved, but I didn't know the difference. And I think that's one of the pitfalls of a lot of people, is that it's sometimes difficult to tell the difference between someone who is simply confident in what they're doing or are arrogant about what they're doing and who they are. And none of this is an act. I think it's very easy to be on the internet and be behind an avatar or something, and it's sort of like a mask. You try to be someone you're not, or you put on a persona. A lot of people, they come up with a channel name or an avatar or something, and that's a character that they're playing in some sense. It might not be completely false per se, but it's a screen. It's a mask. It's a costume they put on. I don't feel that I'm doing that when I'm on the show or scripting a video or something. I think for the most part, I am just me. Now, do I act like this in polite company? Am I that outspoken? Not really. I'm not going to deny that being online or being behind an avatar doesn't allow or even promote or encourage a certain amount of freedom of movement, let's say, verbally, creatively. But I know I'm not making it up. I'm not putting on a show for anyone per se. I mean, I like to entertain people now, I guess, but it's not done for that purpose. You remember the weirdest things about being a kid and how they're more meaningful now as you've grown up, or they've come up at different times in your life and are sort of acted as like waypoints or benchmarks. I remember when I was very young, I want to say 6 or 7, something like that. And I was hanging out with the popular kids in the neighborhood, which was a rare thing because when I was young, I was small and I was very shy, and I had glasses when I was very young. So, that already put me on uneven footing amongst other kids. And so it was a rare day where I was a part of the group for the most part. And I remember I was hanging out with the 3 or 4 more popular boys in the neighborhood back when like neighborhoods were a thing. I don't know if they still are, but at least back then they were. And they were really the entire world for a kid. There weren't lots of video games to play or Twitter to follow or YouTube to watch. I sound like such an old man now. But I remember I was wandering around with them around the neighborhood, and they knew each other a little bit better, of course, than they knew me because they were the popular kids and I was the shy little kid. And one of them said something that was funny. I don't remember what it was. It was a joke or some kind of reference or something. I don't remember. But it was something that every other guy there, all the other kids, got it, and they started laughing. And me, I wanted to fit in, right? I mean, that's the whole point, right? You're supposed to socialize and try to fit in, etc. So I started laughing. Not because I knew what they were talking about or because it was funny, but I wanted to fit in. I wanted to feel like I was in on the joke somehow. I didn't want to feel like I was a part. Now, why do I remember this? Why is this so significant? I remember it because I remember how I felt when I did that. And it's only become more clear, or something that I could articulate more clearly as I've gotten older. I was laughing to fit in, but what I was doing was I was lying. I was pretending to be something I wasn't. I was pretending to feel something that I didn't in order to make the people around me happy effectively. You know, I mean, I was lying to them, but worse than that, I was trying to lie to myself. And that has always stuck with me. You know, it's one of those things where I remember bringing that memory up at different points in my life to this point, thinking about how do I process the world? How do I behave? What things have occurred that have sort of shaped the person that I am now? And that's one of them, certainly. And there have been other things similar to it, sure, but that's the one that always comes back. And it happened early on enough in my life that I think it really did tell me something about what kind of person I wanted to be and what kind of person I didn't. You know, I didn't want to be arrogant. I didn't want to be somebody who put on a face just to make other people happy. I wanted to be as true as I could to myself, even if that put me at a disadvantage, you know, because I laughed so I wouldn't be alone, right? I laughed because I wanted to fit in. I laughed because I felt separated from my peers. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere, so I laughed to belong. But I was lying to what? Be part of a group that I didn't belong to? To get in with kids that would otherwise have picked on me? To make people who were mean to me happy because I didn't want to be alone? That sounds kind of crazy. And that's kind of how I interpreted it and how I still interpret it. So what does all that mean? I don't know. This is me rambling. This is me on a Saturday without anything else to do. I've spent most of the day trying to come up with something productive to do, and I don't know. I just don't have it in me right now. I guess it's just not occurring. Now I'm looking over and I see that there are at least 4 people watching right now, and I want to tell you something. I'm not looking at the chat. I don't know who's here. I might do it in a second, but I want to make a point without knowing who's here, without knowing who's watching or who has commented so far. The fact that you 4 people are taking any minute of your day beyond a passing fancy to listen to this rambling for more than maybe 30 seconds is very meaningful to me. There's this song. There's this band. I don't know if they're still around, but they were called Fury in the Slaughterhouse. Very, very creative name. They had a couple of minor single hits kind of thing. One of which being Every Generation Has Its Own Disease, which I think is a great song. But they had another one called Radio Orchid. And this song was sort of a ballad. It was sort of a story song. And it told the story of a little old lady who her husband passed away. And she either bought or inherited a sort of dying radio station, like just some AM nothing band radio station. A tower probably could go only for a few hundred miles, something. But every day she'd get on there because she was lonely and just start talking to the world, telling them about her day and what her life was like and everything else. And according to the song story, people would listen and they came to know this person and get to know her, even though they'd never met her, and it became sort of part of their lives. And I've always remembered that song when I've been doing this stuff, whether live streaming or putting videos up. I remember Radio Orchid. I'm not trying to sound sad. I'm not trying to sound pathetic or anything. But it's one of those things where it's just so bizarre to me. And maybe only people old enough to remember what the world was like before all of this to have any reference point for it. But it's so bizarre to me that I can sit here alone in a room, talking to a microphone. I'm not professional, don't have a sponsorship or something. Nobody's obligated, no advertising. And yet, somehow, some way, whatever I'm saying, whatever meaning there is to it, has enough of a connection to bring even a single person in to listen for a minute. It's gratifying in a way. And I'm very appreciative of it. I don't know if this will mean anything to anybody who might listen to it later on. I don't know if it's helpful or if you feel the same way sometimes about some things, or you've had similar moments in your life that have sort of marked how you've perceived others or perceived the world. But I think just like me laughing when I didn't feel it, what are we all looking for? We're all looking for connection. We're all looking for belonging. We're all looking not to feel like we're all by ourselves all the time. And that's probably partially why I do this. And part of it is catharsis. Actually, a lot of it is catharsis. A lot of it is just looking at the world as crazy as it's becoming, seemingly, and trying to make sense of it, even when it doesn't make sense. Try to maintain something like sanity, but also connection to the outside world. But also it's to try to make a connection with other people in a way. The feedback that I get on my videos, good or bad, I've been very lucky so far. It's been very good, relatively speaking. Tells me that other people are making a connection, even if they disagree with me, or even if they have an additional point to make, or even if they're just sort of glad to hear somebody else say it or something. I don't take it too much internally. I don't think that I'm that special. I don't think I'm a voice of a generation or anything. I'm just speaking for me. But, it still boggles my mind. 4 people. I mean, if this was my first channel and I had 4 subscribers, and at one point I did, obviously, it boggles my mind. Knowing nothing else about me, having no other connection to me other than what I have to say or my ideas or my opinions. 4 people in the world that I don't know, taking their time to listen. So now I will click on the comments and see who's here. Sam Kors, hello. Shrouded Angel, hello. Noah, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. You are my only audience today. If that makes you feel special, well, good. I don't know how long I'm going to do this. This was just sort of a culmination of so many thoughts racing through my head in the last several hours, trying to find something to do with my time, and my brain just going off in different directions. Because this is part of my life now, as weird as it is. It's not a career. I still have a full-time job. That's why I get distracted very easily from doing scripted stuff lately. Work has been very busy. But in the absence of the kind of social life I used to have before it imploded over a whole bunch of drama that I'm not going to go into. Drama, I will say that I was more the collateral damage of than I was directly involved with. It'd take a long time to explain. YouTube has become the most recent chapter in my life. And the show, the videos, the feedback, watching things, paying attention to what's going on in the world. I don't know that I'd be this, observant. Well, not to give myself too much credit on. Not observant, but attentive. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Attentive to what's going on in the world if it wasn't for the show. Reading the news every night, being amazed by it or bewildered. But yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do with myself, whether that means more YouTube or something completely different or a different channel doing some kind of different videos or not doing videos at all. I won't lie. I've been coming to different thoughts recently of maybe just taking a total break from YouTube, even if that meant a break from the show. I don't know. Maybe I'm burning out. I've had that happen a couple of times now. I keep trying to come up with the motivation to say something new about diversity or feminism or white privilege or social justice or whatever. You know, name the topic that I've covered in the past. And I'm having a harder and harder time coming up with something new to say about the same things that I've said over and over again on the same topics. So I don't know if that means that I just need to slow down, take a break, or find something new to talk about. But that sounds like first world problems. And it is. But it's also part of how I look at myself right now. You know, not like I'm some big thing, but just that this is a part of my release valve, pressure release. This is what I do as a hobby. This is what I do as an outlet. This is what I do to keep connected to the world and to other people. So it is important to me. So just completely taking a month off or something doesn't make a lot of sense. Because I feel like I'm obliged, you know. I owe everybody in a way. They want to hear the three of us talk. They want to engage, and we want to engage with them. I mean, I'm not going to deny it's not a one-way street. It's not like, oh, I'm basking in the glow of all this attention. No, it's like I said, it's this sort of feedback loop, right? I mean, if I was simply just comfortable all by myself hearing myself talk, I wouldn't need the microphone, you know. And not that I'm looking for sycophants. You know, I'm not looking for sort of like hangers on or something, or people just to tell me how right I am. Truth be told, I get suspicious if I get too much positive feedback without any kind of pushback, because then I'm like, am I getting into a false sense of security? But, you know, my viewers are both supportive and corrective and embellish as well, going off on tangents I didn't think about or bringing up things I didn't know. So they're not just, you know, clicking on a video and giving me a thumbs up to give me a thumbs up. They're engaged, which is gratifying. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make this boring for you or for anybody else, especially for me. Not quite sure there's anything else to say. And, you know, I wasn't going to advertise this because this wasn't sort of a main channel kind of thing. This is just sort of me venting, I guess, in a way. In fact, I didn't even expect anybody to see this, because I know there's a few, like there's like 120 people or something who actually subscribe to this channel, but I didn't think many people would pay attention or would even know, because YouTube doesn't tell anybody that these things are going on. But let's see. Quinn says, "You don't owe us anything, dude. We appreciate you, Monk, and Pennyman." Well, no, well, I mean, maybe not owe in a way, but no, I don't. I'm one of those people that until I get my thoughts in an ordered state enough that I can say them out loud with some clarity, I want to stop and be thoughtful about it, which also makes me feel like I'm dumb, like I can't come up with something to say, or I'm blanking. It's not blanking. It's that my brain's going in 5 different directions trying to make sure I'm understood. And really, isn't that just the theme of all of my videos? Trying to understand, listening to what people say, keeping it in mind as they proceed, and then comparing it back to what they've said before as they go on, and seeing where the inconsistencies are, or seeing what they're trying to get across. Trying to be understood. I think that's one of my other biggest fears of this hobby, is that I'm going to say or do something that is taken how in a way I didn't mean it, which is always a risk, I suppose, but it's something I'm always cognizant of. I think I've been that way for a long time because I end up restating the same thing 3 or 4 different ways, not only to make sure the person who's listening gets it, but that I make sure that I'm clarifying myself. So, yeah, it's not a matter of debt. I mean, it's more like I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful more than anything else, and I appreciate it. I also don't take any of this for granted. I mean, YouTube could pull the rug out from under me tomorrow for whatever reason. Or people could stop watching the show tomorrow for whatever reason. And if it happened that way, well, and I guess that's just the way the world works. But I just appreciate it. I appreciate you guys listening for a few minutes. It's kind of a therapy, I suppose. But anyway, I guess I'll end this here because I'm just starting to really ramble. I don't even have a point I'm going after anymore if I was going for a point. I may leave this up. I might delete it. I don't know. Maybe it'll be more special that way if you're the only guys that ever, or girls. I don't know everybody's. I'm not assuming gender, trying not to. And guys is such a loaded word. But yeah, thanks for taking a minute or 30, as the clock tells me, to listen. And hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday. And because I'm a shill to the end, be sure to watch Lords of the Night tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific over on Monkey's channel. Because, that's a thing we do. Hope you guys have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.